Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Rohit and today we are going to discuss about how our brain is addicted to scrolling. What is the reason and how you can fix it with the practical steps. And this will going to help you a lot. Stay with me till the very end. So let's get started. Most people do not keep scrolling because they believe it is good for them. They keep scrolling because some part of them still believes it is giving them something. A little rest, a little information, a little connection, a little escape, a little control, a little relief from whatever they do not want to feel for the next 5 minutes. That belief is the trap, because if the scroll were actually giving you what it promised, you would feel better afterwards, cleaner, calmer, more connected, more informed in a way that helps you act, more rested, more present in your own life, right? But most people do not feel that. They close the app feeling foggier than when they opened it, a little irritated, a little behind, a little ashamed, somehow overstimulated and undernourished at the same time. That is the proof. Not that the scroll gives you literally nothing, it gives you tiny fragments. The problem is that it gives you fragments of the thing you actually need, and those fragments are just enough to keep you coming back. If scrolling gave you nothing at all, you would stop, right? Nobody repeats a behavior for years if there is no reward inside it. The reward is very real. It is just smaller than the promise. You open the app because you are tired. It gives stimulation. You opened it because you are lonely. It gives proximity. You opened it because you are anxious. It gives updates. You open it because you are bored. It gives novelty. You open it because you feel out of control. It gives the illusion of monitoring the world. That is why the behavior is hard to quit. It does not feel completely useless in the moment. There is always one post that makes you laugh, one update that feels important, one clip that teaches you something, one comment that validates your anger, one message that makes you feel included, one piece of news that makes you feel like you are paying attention. That occasional reward keeps the search alive. The scroll does not need to satisfy you, it only needs to convince you that satisfaction may be one more swipe away. That is the whole machine. You are not chasing what the scroll gave you, you are chasing what it might give you next. Your break is not a break. The most common lie is that scrolling is rest. It looks like rest because your body is still. You sit on the couch, you lie in the bed, you stop walking, you stop talking, you stop moving from the outside. It looks like you are taking a break, but rest is not the absence of movement. Rest is recovery. A real break gives something back to your nervous system, your breathing settles, your attention softens, your mind stops jumping, your body comes down from a pressure of the day. The scroll usually does the opposite. It keeps your attention moving, one face, one opinion, one joke, one disaster, one lobby, one argument, one product, one person's success, one stranger's pain, one more thing to react to before you have finished reacting to the last thing. You call it relaxing because it is easier than work. But easier than work does not mean restorative. Scrolling is often stimulation wearing a rest costume. That matters because problematic social media use has been associated with poorer sleep quality in a 2024 meta analysis covering 40 empirical studies and more than 34,000 participants, with younger users showing stronger sleep quality problems than older users. A broader 2024 meta analysis on electronic media use and sleep also found electronic media use was significantly linked with decreased sleep quality and increased sleep problems across subgroups. So, if your brick makes you sleep later, think worse, and wake up heavier, you need to stop calling it a break. It may be a pause from responsibility, but it is not recovery. The second lie is that scrolling keeps you informed. This one has more truth inside it. You do learn things online, you do see news, you do discover ideas, you do find useful people, useful conversations, useful warnings, useful resources. That is why a simplistic article says social media gives you nothing would be dishonest. The scroll gives information. A better question is what kind? A randomized experiment where participants deactivated Facebook for 4 weeks before the 2018 US midterm election found that deactivation reduced factual news knowledge, which means Facebook had been providing some information. But the same experiment also found increased subjective well being, more offline activity, and reduced political polarization. That is the trade nobody wants to look at it. The scroll may give you more information while making your life feel worse. It may tell you more about the world while making you feel less capable of living in it. It may increase awareness without increasing agency. That is not clarity. Clarity helps you decide what matters and what to do next. The scroll usually gives fragments, a headline, a reaction, a half argument, a clip without context, a crisis without a path, a statistic without proportion, a stranger's certainty without their full reasoning. Then your mind carries all the fragments around like unfinished taps. You feel more aware but not more directed. That is the difference. Information tells you something happened. Clarity tells you what deserves your attention. The scroll is good at the first one, it is often terrible at the second. Doom scrolling is not curiosity, it is threat checking. You tell yourself you are staying informed. Sometimes that is true. But if being informed were the whole goal, you would stop once you had enough information, right? Doom scrolling continues after that point. That is how you know something else is happening. You check one update, then another. One bad story becomes 10. One conflict becomes a whole evening. One prediction becomes a chain of analysis, reactions, counter reactions, and strangers explaining how doomed everything is. At some point, this is not learning, it is threat checking. Your nervous system is trying to turn uncertainty into control. It believes that if you just know enough, you will feel safe. But the feed does not give safety. It gives more signal to monitor, more danger, more outrage, more reasons to keep checking. The loop becomes feel uncertain, open the feed, find threat, feel temporarily informed, feel more activated, check again. This is why doom scrolling feels serious. It does not feel like entertainment, it feels like responsibility. You are watching the world, you are not looking away, you are being realistic. But sometimes what you call facing reality is just rehearsing helplessness. Problematic smartphone use has been robustly associated with symptoms of anxiety and depression in a 2023 meta analysis of 27 studies involving 1,20,895 participants. Although this kind of evidence is largely correlational and cannot prove a simple one way cause. That distinction matters. Anxious people may scroll more. Scrolling may also make an anxiety worse. Both can be true. The practical point is simple. If a behavior repeatedly leaves you more tense, less present, and less able to act, you do not need perfect casualty before you change your relationship with it. Your own life is enough data. Connection is not the same as watching people. The third lie is that scrolling gives connection. Again, not completely false. Social media can help people maintain relationships, find communities, receive support, and participate in groups they would not have access to offline. A 2024 meta analysis of 141 studies found that active and passive social media use were linked with greater online support in some contexts, while also warning that most associations between active or passive use and well being outcomes were negligible and context dependent. So, the honest version is this: social media can support connection, scrolling is not always connection. Watching people is not the same as being with the people. Knowing what someone posted is not the same as knowing how they are. Seeing a friend's vacation is not the same as talking to them. Reading a stranger's pain is not the same as being emotionally present. Watching someone's life through a feed can create a feeling of social contact without the demands of real relationship. No vulnerability, no reciprocity, no shared silence, no actual exchange, just proximity. And proximity is seductive. When you are lonely because it asks so little from you, you can feel near people without risking a message. You can see everyone without being seen. You can consume social signals without entering social reality. That is why you can scroll for an hour because you feel lonely and still not message one person. The need was connection, the behavior was observation. Those are not the same. The feed has no ending because your brain needs one. One of the reasons the scroll is so hard to stop is that it is not designed to end. A book has chapters, a meal has a plate, a conversation has natural pauses, a walk has a route. Even television used to have episodes, commercials, and ending. The feed does not ask you to choose the next thing, it simply provides it. That matters because stopping often depends on a cue. A natural boundary gives you a moment to ask: am I done? Do I want more? Did I get what I came for? Infinite scroll removes that question. Human computer interaction research on design friction found that infinite scroll style platforms can encourage mindless scrolling and normative dissociation, while participants who had to react to each post before accessing more content showed better context recall. Even though many found the friction frustrating, that frustration is important. Friction feels annoying because it returns responsibility to you. The app no longer carries you. You have to choose again, and choice is exactly what Infinite Scroll is designed to keep soft. The interface is not neutral. It does not force you to scroll, but it reduces the number of moments where stopping becomes obvious. So when you say, I just lost track of time, that may be true, but it is not an accident. The feed was built to make losing easier track. The next post might be useful, that is enough. It might make you laugh, it might explain the thing you are worried about, it might show you something everyone else already knows. It might contain the opportunity, the idea, the message, the proof, the drama, the update, the answer. Most posts do not deliver, but some do. That occasional reward creates the search pattern. It is the same reason people keep checking messages when nobody has replied yet. The reward is uncertain, so the checking becomes sticky. The scroll turns uncertainty into a habit. Not because every swipe is good, because the next one could be. This is why your memory of the session is often weak. You consumed a lot but retained little. You saw hundreds of things but cannot name 10 of them clearly. That should tell you something. A behavior can feel absorbing while leaving almost no meaningful trace. Not all attention is nourishment, some attention is just capture. A good conversation can leave you moved, a good book can leave you changed, a good film can leave you thinking. Even a difficult piece of news can lead to a clear discussion. Donate, call someone, vote, prepare, rest, help, discuss, learn more from a serious source. But the feed often gives emotional activation without resolution. You find anger without action, fear without preparation, sadness without mourning, jealousy without self examination, desire without decision, outrage without responsibility. Then you carry those little emotional residue into the rest of the day. You are not exactly upset, not exactly calm either, just charged. This is one reason scrolling can make your normal life feel faintly unsatisfying. Your nervous system has been moving through exaggerated signals for an hour. Then you return to the room you are actually in. The room seems quiet, the people seem slow, the people near you seem ordinary. Your own progress seems unimpressive. The feed makes life feel like it should be constantly intense. Real life rarely is. So reality starts feeling underpowered. That is a hidden cost. The scroll does not only take time from your life, it changes the emotional standard by which your life is judged. This is where the argument needs to stay honest. Not every scroll is ruining your life. Not every person who uses social media is anxious, lonely, or distracted. Not every passive session is harmful. The 2024 meta analysis of 144 studies found most association between active or passive social media use and outcomes were negligible, and the authors emphasized context instead of simple claim that passive use is always bad or active use is always good. That matters. The problem is not the existence of a feed. The problem is relationship you have with it. Intentional use is different from compulsive use. Messaging someone is different from watching strangers for an hour. Reading a specific newsletter is different from letting an algorithm decide your emotional weather. Checking one update is different from doom scrolling through disaster until midnight. Following a useful community is different from using content to avoid your own life. The article is not about an argument of becoming digitally pure. It is an argument of it is an argument for becoming honest. What did you come here for? Did you get it? What did it cost? Those three questions cut through most of the lies. People love turning phone behavior into a character flaw. I have no discipline, I am addicted, I am lazy, I cannot focus. Sometimes your behavior is out of control enough that you need serious intervention. That should be taken seriously. But for many people, the more useful first frame is reinforcement. You feel discomfort, you open the app, you get a tiny reward or temporary relief. The discomfort drops for a moment. Your brain learns the move. Next time discomfort appears, the urge comes faster. That is not mysterious, it is training. Boredom trains scrolling, lonelier trains scrolling, avoidance trains scrolling, fatigue trains scrolling, uncertainty trains scrolling. The phone becomes the answer to too many internal states, not because it solves them, because it briefly changes them. That is why the scroll survives even when you hate it afterwards. The reward happens early, the cost arrives late. The first 5 minutes feels like relief, the next 40 feels like fog. Your brain remembers the relief and discounts the fog. So, if you want to break the pattern, you cannot only say, I should scroll less. You have to ask, what state am I trying to change when I open the app? That is the real doorway. Before you open anything, name what you are trying to get: rest, information, connection, entertainment, avoidance, control, relief. Do not make this complicated, just name it. Because as soon as you name the need, the app has to complete with the better option. If the need is rest, scrolling is usually a poor tool. Lie down for 10 minutes, walk without audio, sit outside, stretch, close your eyes, take a shower. Do something that lets your nervous system come down instead of feeding it more input. If the need is connection, scrolling is often a poor tool. Message one person, call someone, send a voice note, make a plan, ask a real question. Do not watch people and call it connection if what you needed was contact. If the need is information, scrolling is often a poor tool. Read one full article, use one trusted news sources, set a 10-minute window. Write down what you learned and what action, if any, it requires. If there is no action, maybe you do not need the 10th update. If the need is entertainment, fine. Choose entertainment, watch one specific video, listen to one episode, read something intentionally, enjoy it without pretending you are doing research. If the need is avoidance, be honest. What are you avoiding? The email, the conversation, the work, the feeling, the decisions. Sometimes naming the avoidance weakens the urge more than any app limit. Use a better replacement, not a moral speech. You will not beat the scroll with self abuse. You need replacements that actually match the need. This is where people fail. They remove scrolling but do not replace what the scroll was doing. So now they are tired with no rest plan, lonely with no connection plan, anxious with no calming plan, bored with low effort alternative, overwhelmed with no next action. Of course, they go back, the phone was doing a job, badly, maybe, but it was doing something. If you remove it without replacing the job, the old behavior returns. So, build a small menu, like for rest, a walk, a nap, a few minutes of silence, a short stretch, a non screen break. For connection, message a friend, call family, send one honest voice note, ask someone to meet. For information, one article, one newsletter, one scheduled news check, no feed. For entertainment, one chosen video, one episode, one song, one chapter. For an anxiety, write the worry, name the next controllable action, do that action or schedule it. For boredom, keep a book nearby, clean one small area, go outside, practice sitting without input for 5 minutes. You do not need a perfect routine. You need a better answer than default scrolling. News inside a feed is especially dangerous because it mixes information with performance, outrage, commentary, identity, and algorithmic escalation. You think you are checking news, but you are also checking what everyone thinks about the news. Then, what everyone thinks about what everyone thinks. Then, the most emotional version of the event. Then, the worst prediction. Then, the person explaining why anyone who disagree is stupid. That is not staying informed. That is letting a crowd enter your nervous system through a slot machine. Use a news window. Pick one or two sources, check at a specific time, read enough to understand what matters, then stop. If something requires action, take action. If nothing requires action, let the information end. That last part is hard because an anxiety wants infinite updates, but infinite updates rarely creates infinite agency. At some point, the 10th article is not informing you, it is feeding the feeling that you are not allowed to stop watching. Because the feed has no natural ending, you need to create endings. Use timers if they work, use app limit if they work, put the phone in another room during work, keep it out of bed, turn off non essential notifications, use grayscale if it reduces the pull. Log out of apps that you use compulsively. Remove the apps from the home screen. Use browsers instead of apps when you want more friction. These are not moral achievements, they are design changes. Remember, friction is not failure. Friction is the moment where you get choice back. The same HCI research on design friction found that adding friction improved recall compared with infinite scrolling. Even though users work dislike the friction, that discomfort is useful. The goal is not to make the app more pleasant. The goal is to make unconscious use less automatic. If the app becomes slightly less satisfying, good. Maybe it should. Do not scroll before sleep. If you change only one thing, start here. Do not bring the feed into bed. Your bed should not be the place where your nervous system processes arguments, disasters, bodies, ads, jokes, updates, envy, novelty, and blue light until it collapses. You may fall asleep eventually. That does not mean the scroll helped. It may have delayed the sleep you needed and lowered the quality of the sleep you got. Problematic social media use has been linked to poorer sleep quality in meta analytic evidence, and electronic media use more broadly has been associated with decreased sleep quality and more sleep problems. So, make the rule clear: no feed in bed, charge the phone away from the bed if you can, use an alarm clock if needed, read something physical, listen to quiet audio with a fixed ending if that helps. Let the day close. Your last hour prepares your first hour. If the last thing you feed your mind is noise, do not act surprised when the next morning feels foggy. The scroll is dangerous because it gives almost enough. The scroll gives almost rest, enough stillness to feel like a break, not enough recovery to restore you. It gives almost connection, enough proximity to feel social, not enough reciprocity to feel known. It gives almost information, enough fragments to feel updated, not enough context to feel clear. It gives almost control, enough monitoring to feel responsible, not enough agency to change anything. It gives almost entertainment, enough novelty to keep you watching, not enough satisfaction to feel full. That is why it is so hard to leave. The scroll is not empty, it is almost. And almost is more dangerous than nothing. Nothing would disappoint you quickly, almost keeps you searching. Run the 7-day proof test. Do not turn this into a vague promise to use your phone less. Run a test. For 7 days before you open a feed, write down one word: rest, information, connection, entertainment, avoidance, control, relief. Then use the app if you still choose to. When you close it, write one sentence: did I get what I came for? That's it. No shame, no dramatic detox, just evidence. You will start seeing the pattern quickly. You opened it for rest, but left stimulated. You opened it for connection, but messaged no one. You opened it for information, but collected an anxiety. You opened it for entertainment, but cannot remember what you watched. You opened it for control, but felt more helpless. Once you see that clearly, the desire changes, not because you force it, because the illusion gets weaker. So, the next time you reach for the scroll, pause for 5 seconds, ask, what am I trying to get? If the answer is rest, do not open a slot machine for your attention. If the answer is connection, contact a person directly. If the answer is information, choose a bounded source. If the answer is escape, name what you are escaping. If the answer is boredom, practice 5 minutes without input before you feed the reflex again. Then make one decision change today. No phone in bed, one news window, remove one saved app from the home screen, turn off notifications, use a timer, delete one app for a week. Replace one scrolling break with a walk. Do not wait until you hate yourself enough to change. That is not the right fuel. Just tell the truth about the bargain. The scroll is giving you tiny pieces of what you need while quietly keeping you from the real version. Stimulation instead of rest, updates instead of clarity, proximity instead of connection, threat checking instead of control, novelty instead of satisfaction. Once you see that, the question becomes simple. Not how do I become disciplined enough to stop? Ask what am I still hoping the scroll will give me that it has never actually delivered? Then go get the real thing. If you like this content, then please do let me know in the comment section. And if you want me to cover any other topic, then please do let me know in the comment section. Until then, see you in the next video.